I was just telling Mr. Ed, like, I went through a lot internally. A lot of what I went through, I relied on my dad for.
Kelsey Mitchell just dropped a bomb on Instagram that's got WNBA fans losing their minds. Her cryptic post has everyone wondering, is she leaving the Indiana Fever? What's going on with Caitlin Clark's teammate? We're diving into this drama that's shaking up the league. Picture this. Mitchell posts on Instagram saying stuff like, I got low shed tears and trusted God to save myself. That's some heavy stuff, right? It's got everyone freaking out. Even Caitlin Clark and Lexi Hall liked the post. You know what that means? This is big news. So here's the million-dollar question. Is Kelsey Mitchell really thinking about leaving the Fever? This could change everything for the team and the whole league. Imagine Caitlin Clark without her star teammate.
It's definitely a lot of emotions and thoughts that flow through my mind. I think that everything for me is so fresh that I don't know what I need and what I'm going to do.
The Fever without their top scorer. It's crazy to think about, but it might be happening. We're gonna break it all down for you, so stick around. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
When the time comes and the opportunity is right for me to make those decisions, obviously I've always had a home in Indies. I think that for us, we err on the side of professionalism in a lot of different ways, and we can only control what's in our organization, within our people.
Now, you might be wondering why Mitchell would even consider leaving. After all, she's been the heartbeat of this team for 7 seasons. But here's the kicker. Mitchell's impact goes way beyond what you see on the court. What she's done for the Fever will shock you. Let's talk about Kelsey Mitchell's journey with the Indiana Fever. This girl has been holding it down for 7 straight seasons. That's crazy, right? But what's even crazier is that she's been their top scorer for most of that time. We're talking about a player who's been the backbone of this team through thick and thin. Remember Mitchell's rookie year back in 2018? She came out swinging, scoring 767 points in the regular season. That's insane. She was just 2 points shy of matching Caitlin Clark's rookie season this year. Talk about making a statement right out of the gate.
So it could potentially be a home for me again, but I think right now the switching dynamic of my family and everything I got to do what's best for me. Me personally, we don't condone those kind of things. No matter what color you are or whatever you carry or possess. I think for us, we focus on the basketball part.
But here's where things get really interesting. The Fever just made the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. 8 years? And guess who was a big part of that turnaround? You got it, Kelsey Mitchell. She teamed up with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston to pull the Fever out of a rough 1-8 start and into the playoffs. That's the kind of player Mitchell is. She doesn't give up when things get tough. Speaking of tough times, Mitchell has seen her fair share with the Fever. Multiple coaching changes, losing seasons, you name it. She's been through it, but she stuck around. That's loyalty right there. She's been the constant in a sea of change for this team. So, with all that history, why would Mitchell even think about leaving? Well, here's where things get complicated. Mitchell recently said something that's got everyone talking. She said, I gotta be selfish about that process. I've always had a home in Indy, so it could potentially be a home for me again. Wait, what? Could potentially be? That doesn't sound like someone who's 100% committed to staying. But let's not jump to conclusions just yet. Mitchell's been with the Fever through some pretty rough patches. She's seen the team at its lowest, and now she's part of its revival. That's got to count for something, right? You'd think after sticking with the Fever through thick and thin, Mitchell would be a lock to stay. But hold up, there's a game-changing factor that could turn this whole situation on its head. And it's got nothing to do with what happens on the court. We're talking cold, hard cash. Let's break it down. The Indiana Fever can offer Mitchell a 1-year Supermax deal worth up to $241,000 for the 2024 season. That's a lot of money, right? But here's the kicker. Other teams might come in with even bigger, longer contracts. That's the kind of offer that makes a player stop and think. Now, imagine you're Kelsey Mitchell. You've been with this team for 7 years. You've seen the ups and downs. You've been their top scorer. You finally made it to the playoffs, but now you're facing a choice between a big payday and the team you've been loyal to. That's not an easy decision, is it? But it's not just about the money. There's something else at play here. Something that might be even more valuable than a fat contract. We're talking about legacy. Imagine Mitchell and Caitlin Clark playing together for years to come. They could become a legendary duo, the kind of partnership that basketball fans talk about for generations. That's the kind of thing that could make Mitchell think twice about leaving. Here's where things get really interesting. The Fever's GM, Lynn Dunn, has called Mitchell a Hall of Famer type player. That's huge. It shows how much they value her. But is it enough to keep her around if another team comes in with a monster offer? Think about it. Mitchell's been through multiple coaching changes and losing seasons with the Fever. She's seen it all. Now that things are finally looking up, does she stick around to see it through? Or does she take a big offer from another team and start fresh? This isn't just about Mitchell though. Her decision could shake up the whole league. If she stays, the Fever could become a powerhouse with her and Clark leading the charge. If she goes, it could change the balance of power in the WNBA. That's why everyone's watching this so closely. Alright, let's talk about the ticking clock that's got everyone in the WNBA on edge. There's a date coming up that could shake things up big time, not just for Kelsey Mitchell, but for the whole league. January. That's when WNBA free agency kicks off, and that's when we'll finally get some answers about Mitchell's future. But hold up, there's more. Before we even get to January, there's another huge event that could throw a curveball into this whole situation. On December 6th, the WNBA's got this expansion deal coming up. You know what that means? New teams, new opportunities, and a whole lot of uncertainty. It's like the league's hitting the reset button right when Mitchell's trying to make her big decision. Now, imagine you're Kelsey Mitchell. You've got this offer from the Fever, a 1-year Supermax deal worth $241,000. That's not chump change. But here's the thing. Other teams might come in with even bigger, longer contracts once free agency starts. So she's got to be thinking, do I stick with what I know or do I take a chance on something new? But it's not just about the money. Mitchell's decision is going to have ripple effects all over the place. If she stays with the Fever, they could be building something special with her and Caitlin Clark. We're talking potential dynasty material here. But if she leaves, that could change the whole balance of power in the WNBA. And let's not forget about Mitchell's own career. She's been with the Fever for 7 seasons. That's a long time. She's seen the team at its worst, and now she's part of its revival. Does she want to see that through, or is she ready for a fresh start somewhere else? You know what's crazy? Mitchell herself is keeping everyone guessing. She said, when the time comes and the opportunity is right for me to make those decisions. Obviously, I've always had a home in Indy, so it could potentially be a home for me again. That could potentially is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. So here's where we're at. We've got the expansion deal in December that could change the whole landscape. Then we've got free agency kicking off in January. And somewhere in between all that, Kelsey Mitchell's got to make a decision that could change her career, the Fever's future, and maybe even the balance of the whole WNBA. Alright, let's wrap this up. Kelsey Mitchell's Instagram post has everyone on edge. She's been the Fever's top scorer for 7 seasons, helping them make the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. But now she's facing a tough choice. Stick with the team that's been her home, or chase a bigger payday elsewhere. The clock's ticking. With WNBA free agency starting in January and an expansion deal coming up in December, Mitchell's decision could shake up the whole league. She's got a $241,000 Supermax offer from the Fever, but other teams might throw even more cash her way. So, what's it gonna be? The comfort of home or a fresh start somewhere new? Mitchell's keeping her cards close to her chest, saying Indy could potentially be a home for me again. We'll just have to wait and see what she decides.